Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking open what is, I think it's fair to say, the single most discussed strategy text in human history.
Oh, without a doubt.
Sun Tzu's The Art of War, or Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Written, way back in the 6th century BCE?
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just, some dusty old military manual. Its maxims have seeped into, everywhere.
Every corner of modern life, yeah.
Oh.
From tech CEOs to NFL coaches.
Exactly. And even policymakers trying to navigate this really complex global competition.
That's right. And for so many people, the art of war just exists as these simple, inspiring quotes you see on social media.
Bumper stickers, almost.
Yes, bumper sticker philosophy.
Yeah.
But there's such a deep, complex system underneath all of that. So our mission today really is to get past that.
Okay.
We want to extract the core strategic philosophy that gives this text its enduring and frankly kind of scary influence.
Scary how?
In how effective it is.
Right.
We need to understand the crucial factors that determine victory, and most of them, as we're going to see, happen long before a single shot is fired. And crucially, we'll look at some surprising nuances, like how a simple choice in translation can completely change what Sun Tzu means to you.
Okay, let's unpack that immediately because that's a fantastic place to start. This idea of nuance.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with a text this old, translation isn't just swapping words, it's interpretation, right?
It's total interpretation.
Yeah.
Our sources suggest the core meaning of the art of war can be fundamentally, manipulated by the context of the translation itself.
How so? What's the evidence for that?
It's a really fascinating area of research. Scholars did a comparative analysis on two of the big modern English translations, Griffiths and Gagliardi's.
Okay.
And they weren't just looking at the words, they were looking at the underlying linguistic function. So basically how sentences are structured to give commands or advice or just possibilities.
So you're looking past the specific words to see if one version feels more authoritative than the other.
Exactly. And the differences were pretty stark. In Griffith's translation, when Sun Tzu is expressing propositions, suggestions about facts or what might happen, the language is very tentative or cautious.
So it reads like respectful advice.
It reads like advice given to a powerful king who might, choose to ignore it.
Almost like perhaps the general should consider this tactic.
Precisely. But then you get to Gagliardi's translation, and this is super common in the modern business-focused versions, and it adopts what scholars call a highly provocative strategy.
Meaning?
The advice becomes highly obligatory.
Wow. So it goes from being a suggestion to, you must do this immediately.
Yes. And that completely changes the relationship between the text and the reader. It turns advice into absolute doctrine.
The tone and the perceived authority just skyrocket.
Fundamentally, the core finding is that a translator, and this could be conscious or not, might ignore and distort the original interpersonal meaning of the text.
Why? To make it more relevant.
To adapt Sun Tzu for a modern situation where the reader is looking for hard and fast rules for success, whether that's in leadership or just, personal development.
So the original Sun Tzu was advising a king in a very specific context,
Mm-hmm.
but the modern translator is building a new relationship where they are hiding behind Sun Tzu's ancient authority to give you, the reader, these commands.
Yeah, that's it. They become the intermediary who dictates that relationship. The book you're reading might not be telling you about the delicate dynamic between a general and his king,
It's telling me what a modern editor thinks I need to hear.
and how they think it should be heard. It might be an attempt to make the text feel more applicable, more decisive, maybe even more commercially viable.
That's a phenomenal point. We have to be conscious consumers of strategy, knowing the authority we feel might have been constructed for us.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move from the messenger to the message itself. If there's one central explicit principle in the Sun Tzu, it has to be deception.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
We're constantly told the successful general must know the enemy and know yourself, ZBZG. Why is that knowledge so tied to the idea of deception?
Because that knowledge is what lets you engineer reality for your opponent.
Engineer reality, I like that.
Deception is the tool you use to disguise your true capabilities, your situation, your intentions, by faking capacity or inactivity, by appearing weak when you're strong.
Or strong when you're weak.
Right. You make sure the enemy will not know what to defend or attack. So deception isn't a reaction to what's happening. It's the mechanism that creates favorable circumstances for your victory.
You're shaping the field before you even step on it. You're not fighting the enemy's reality. You're fighting the reality you've made them believe is true.
Precisely. And that's why we get the most famous quotes like, "A military operation involves deception. even though you are competent, appear to be incompetent.
Though effective, appear to be ineffective. It's a total inversion of the truth.
A complete inversion. And very often, that deception uses the enemy's own greed as a lever.
The advice to draw them in with the prospect of gain.
Yes. If they're hungry for resources or if they're just arrogant, you exploit that. If they are greedy, lure them with goods.
And this duality, it runs right through combat itself. The idea that confrontation is done directly, victory is gained by surprise.
That's the core of it. The direct attack is just a distraction. It's a feint. It's the surprise maneuver that delivers the knockout blow.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me because this connects back to broader Chinese philosophy, doesn't it? Particularly Taoism.
It absolutely does.
This relentless focus on being elusive and unknowable. It feels more philosophical than just tactical.
It is. The emphasis on enigma, on being fundamentally unknowable, has this deep Taoist style. Sun Tzu says skilled defenders should hide in the deepest depths of the earth.
Become invisible, unassailable.
And conversely, skilled attackers should maneuver in the highest heights of the sky. Be dynamic, untouchable, fluid.
The goal isn't just to be unseen, but to be truly formless.
Exactly. The ultimate strategic goal is unfathomability. To be subtle even to the point of formlessness. Be mysterious even to the point of soundlessness.
And if you can do that,
Thus you can control the enemy's fate. If you have no visible form, you offer no target. Your opponent is just constantly guessing where you are or even who you are.
that idea of formlessness even extends to how you handle an enemy who's cornered. And this feels really counterintuitive for a war manual.
This is the critical principle of non-persistence, reversion at the extremes.
Sun Tzu warns, do not press a desperate enemy.
Right, and why? Because an exhausted animal will still fight like hell if its back is against the wall.
So if you surround an army,
Must, counterintuitively, give them a way out.
you give them an option that isn't just suicidal resistance.
If they believe they're going to be annihilated, their will to fight, their capacity for violence, it's maximized. But if you give them a perceived escape route,
Their morale shatters.
it fragments. They prioritize survival over fighting, which lets you dominate them efficiently without taking extreme casualties yourself. It's a form of strategic generosity, which is such a powerful lesson.
A critical lesson. Knowing the threshold. Okay, let's pivot to what makes all this cunning strategy possible in the first place. Sun Tzu famously believed that victory is determined at headquarters before the fighting even starts. This all rests on his 5 strategic measurements. The pillars.
Right. If you're going to shape reality for your opponent, you need a solid reality of your own first. These 5 parameters are for measuring strength and determining outcomes analytically. And the first one is, I think, the most surprising.
Which is?
Guidance or the moral law.
Explain that, because when I pick up a military manual, I'm expecting tactics and weapons, not, ethics.
Well, guidance is about inducing popular accord. It's making sure that people willingly follow the rulership without internal opposition.
So, in the ancient context, it meant that even when things got tough, the public would keep supplying resources and manpower because they trusted the system.
They trusted the system. So in modern terms, this isn't about being nice. It's about building institutional resilience, sustainability.
Right. If you don't have that organizational buy-in, your whole mission, whether it's military or business, will just collapse under the first serious pressure.
It's the absolute foundation of resilience. If your organization is fractured internally, no amount of clever deception is going to save you.
Okay, so that's the first pillar. What are the other 4?
The others are a bit more tangible. Second is climate seasons, dark versus light, cold versus heat. Just understanding the environment.
Sure.
Third is ground, high versus low, near versus far, treacherous terrain versus easy terrain.
Makes sense. And the 4th is leadership. What specific qualities does the leader need?
The leader has to balance 5 virtues: knowledge, trustworthiness, humaneness, valor, and strictness.
Okay, so a mix of hard and soft skills.
A crucial mix. It speaks of this balance between when, which is like culture, social skills, benevolence, and wu, the martial skills, decisiveness, crisis management.
You can't just be a great fighter. You have to be a good steward, a good communicator. A leader who is only woo is just a brute.
And a leader who is only when is indecisive when crisis hits. That tension is key. You have to embody both.
And the 5th pillar?
The 5th is order. This covers your organizational structure, your chain of command, and maybe most importantly, reliable logistics. the flow of supplies and equipment.
So the general runs through these 5 factors, compares their own side to the enemy's, and that's how they figure on victory at headquarters.
That's the core belief. Victory isn't about being clever or brave in the heat of the moment. It's achieved by prevailing over those who have already lost.
Because the opponent failed on one of these 5 factors. The analysis is the victory.
It is. And speaking of analysis, Sun Tzu adds this stark economic warning that feels so relevant today. He's explicit. Persistence is not profitable.
A prolonged war is never good for a nation.
Never. He was incredibly specific about the cost, noting that campaigns drain, up to 70% of the common people's budget and 60% of the government's equipment budget.
Those aren't just guesses. Those are hard figures on the ruinous cost of a drawn-out conflict.
So, speed and economy aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolute necessities for national survival. You strike hard, you strike fast, achieve your objective, and get out.
Or risk draining the lifeblood of your state.
The cost of a protracted fight almost always outweighs the benefit.
Now, it's important to say that this philosophy, especially the embrace of deception, wasn't universally loved even back then.
No, not at all.
What was the main counterpoint to this idea of strategy through trickery?
The most direct opposition came from thinkers like Sun Tzu, who was a Confucian. He had this systematic hostility to military deception.
And his reasoning was?
Sun Tzu believed that human goodness wasn't natural, but that it resulted from deliberate, conscious, artificial activity, what he called wei.
So if goodness is a product of being deliberate and transparent and ethical, then deception is fundamentally counterproductive.
Exactly. It undermines the entire project of building a moral, functioning society. For Sun Tzu, virtuous rule needed transparency and trust, not strategic trickery.
That's a sharp difference. Sun Tzu's efficacy through manipulation versus Sun Tzu's efficacy through moral clarity. That's a tension we still live with. But how does Sun Tzu's indirection differ from that other famous Taoist concept, Wu Wei effortless action? They sound similar.
That's a crucial distinction. Sun Tzu's indirection is strategic manipulation to achieve a goal, which is domination and victory.
Right.
Wu Wei, which you find in texts like the Zhuangzi, is totally different. It describes a transformed state where your actions align perfectly with the flow of nature. It's linked to an egalitarian, non-dominating view of relationships.
So Sun Tzu is always focused on domination, just doing it efficiently.
And subtly. Wu Wei seeks harmonization. Sun Tzu seeks victory.
Let's bring this into the 21st century. What does Sun Tzu teach us about contemporary great power competition, this thing people call gray zone conflict?
His principles are basically being used as a guidebook for competition that stays just below the threshold of actual armed conflict.
So developing alternatives to outright war.
Precisely. The goal today is strategy that's executed below the established legal and military thresholds. This idea of non-war, where you can achieve strategic goals without physical fighting.
How does that work in practice?
Rival states are incrementally degrading advantages and influence economically, informationally, diplomatically, all without physical fighting. They're applying Sun Tzu's non-contact, deceptive strategies across the whole spectrum of competition.
Attacking allies, systems, reputation instead of troops.
Exactly. Eroding the opponent's position. And in that kind of complex, high-stakes environment, the warning about leadership failure becomes even more acute.
What does Sun Tzu say about civilian interference?
He gives a very stern warning about civilian leadership troubling the military. When civilians are ignorant of military affairs, but they share equally in command.
It leads to confusion, hesitation,
mixed orders. He calls it taking away victory by deranging the military. Unity of command and clear expertise are paramount.
That's a powerful summary. So, what are the key takeaways here for you, the listener? We've seen that translation can fundamentally shift the meaning of strategy.
Turning Sun Tzu into a modern authority figure.
We've established deception as the proactive engine of efficacy. And most importantly, that real victory is won by mastering those 5 factors before the game even begins.
And if you look at the ultimate ambition, the goal isn't just winning a battle, it's attacking the enemy's spirit, their will, or attacking something they must rush to rescue.
So the ideal result is causing them to submit willingly.
Through superior strategy, influence, and the trend of events, you want them to lose the will to fight.
Which brings up an important final question for you to think about. If modern competition is carried out silently, below the threshold of armed conflict, like a constant strategic chess match, how can you use Sun Tzu's concept of foreknowledge?
That's the key. The intelligence you gather through a deep assessment of your rivals and your own organization.
to prepare first and ensure success before fighting.
Foreknowledge is what allows intelligent leadership to move beyond just reacting and to achieve truly extraordinary accomplishments. It's the single most valuable resource for avoiding conflict and achieving domination through pure strategy. So the question is, what intelligence are you gathering today to ensure your victory tomorrow?